All right, greetings everybody. Welcome to another edition of Favorite Funny, and I'm with one of the funniest comics, as far as I'm concerned, in the world. A man named Bob Zany, and he has a new special called "I Think I Handled That Well" on Dry Bar, and is also branded on YouTube as the world's most sarcastic comedian. And he's with us today to share some of his favorite funny life stories and favorite funny books, movies, TV shows, comedians, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Zany.
Thank you. And by the way,
like our audience,
that YouTube thing about maybe the world's most sarcastic comedian. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
By
yeah.
the way,
So,
Carl, you look great right now. I thought they canceled Pepe Le Pew, but it looks like you're still alive and well. So that's good to know. Is that when you were in the Green Berets with John Wayne in 1963?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Great. This is our 15th attempt of trying to do a podcast, so maybe this one might work out. I'm calling you from my car. It's harder for them to repossess it when you're in it, I find.
And also, I think if you're driving, that way, if you're driving anyway, it doesn't go to waste in case we mess up the recording.
Hey, look, times are tough right now. I saw a homeless guy asking a homeless guy for money, and the homeless guy said to the other homeless guy, "Get a job."
Wow, that's
Those
pretty
are
harsh
tough times out there, huh?
Yeah.
But
are you in LA?
So everywhere is a homeless camp, huh? It's called Warner Brothers.
Are you in LA or Las Vegas these days?
I'm in Las Vegas. I'm actually in Henderson, the big city next door to it. I can see the strip from my front porch, which is exciting.
Oh, okay. But you can't see the strippers, though. That's not good.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Oh, that's what we do. So, yeah. So, before we get into the specific kinds of questions that I so professionally present you, and which you so professionally answered, yeah, just filling people in about yourself and your life. My impression of you, that'd be funny if I actually did an impression right now, but I won't. My impression of you is that you are of the school of comedy of like Don Rickles, and that you're probably like the greatest insult kind of comic that's around now that Don has gone onto that great comedy club in the sky. Would you say that that's the right kind of school to put you in, or do you see yourself somewhat differently?
I see myself as the next Bob Zany, and then people start comparing other comics to me. I think we're all a mixture of people we've seen over the years. I do have parts of Don Rickles. I do it a little differently than Don did. Don knew what he was going to say to someone in the audience. I asked them information and create off that. And
Wow.
I have a lot of Johnny Carson in the sense that if a joke doesn't work, hopefully I'm funnier getting out of a joke that bombs than a joke that works.
Okay.
And Rodney Dangerfield with the old-fashioned one-liners and stuff like that. So I'm a mixture. I am I'm a chameleon. People see what they want to see.
Yeah. Well, you're fading in and out a little bit here and there, just so you know.
Very much. That's my career.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So, how did you get your start in comedy then? Like, and what time frame was that?
I was 1977. I was 15, going on 16. I auditioned for the Gong Show on
that's
NBC
right.
with Chuck Barris, and after 3 auditions and turning just 16, I got the show. First time I ever performed in my whole life. Never performed in front of an audience doing stand-up, and to be rewarded for that, Carl, I was pulled off by a man dressed like a nun with a big net.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was my welcome to show business. And I tell the audience now that story, and I say, you can't hurt me. Because I knew I knew I was getting myself into.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So then, and one thing you were known for also was that you generously would donate your time to Jerry Lewis's telethon every year, right? You'd perform.
Yeah, 17 years. I did a spot right around midnight, and then I also co-hosted for about 9 of those years. the
Oh,
overnights.
wow.
I did it with Tom Bergeron, Jeffrey Tamborn, Casey Kasem, Jan Carl, Norm Crosby. So some good people, and it was really always a cool experience. And usually right before I'd go on or right after did my stand-up set, they would run the totals. I mean, the tote board would turn over,
Yeah.
which is always kind of cool.
Well, so
Actually, it went down after I did my set, so that wasn't so cool.
was Jerry Lewis involved when you were there or
Yeah,
not?
the first few years, Jerry introduced me, and then he started taking off the overnights, and that's when they asked me to co-host. So,
Okay.
but I saw Jerry every year, and one year I actually did the warm-ups for the technical Emmys. George Lopez was the host of those. It was just like the regular Emmys, and Jerry got the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I got to sit with Jerry in the green room for about an hour. And I wish I would have recorded that conversation because all he did was say how funny I was. And it was really, really cool.
That's great. So do you have like an odd moment from Jerry, or is it all positive, which is fine? Just wondering.
No, I kept my distance, so they were all positive. I do actually, it was interesting. The first time I actually met him was in Vegas. Somebody set it up. He was at the Riviera Hotel. I believe it was with Sammy Davis Jr. And he was backstage in his dressing room. Someone set up for me to go visit him, and I brought a camera. And he started acting like the old Jerry Lewis, and he started, "Ring, Mr. Lady," and he knocked over my stuff. And
Well,
it was the
yeah.
same way when I first met Steve Martin. He was the real reason I went into stand-up because he was it in high school in '79, and I got hired to do George Burns Comedy Week, and he was the executive producer. And they said, "Do you want to meet Steve?" It was Carl Gottlieb, by the way, who wrote Jaws and won an Oscar and all that. And he was one of the producers on it. Carl said, "Do you want to meet Steve?" I said, "Sure." And he brings me over to Steve, and Steve starts doing a wild and crazy guy to me. And I went, I was young. I was going, I thought, we didn't act that way off stage.
Wow, that's crazy. So hang on a second. I just realized I want to do a split screen. So yeah, so then
I think this technical thing that you do during the podcast where you fix things, it's brilliant. By the way, how long were you in the French Resistance?
you got to wind up making jokes about Dom Herrera and Sam Jackson by the time we're done.
Yeah, looks like they had a baby.
I once met Sam Jackson at a press event for a movie, and it was a movie that had a racial controversial plot called Lakeview Terrace, and everybody else is asking him puffy questions like, just dumb questions, and so I went and just went right after the race aspect of it because it was a very interesting movie, and I thought, well, why is nobody saying anything? So I said, yeah, so I want to ask about this movie. You play a black cop who hates white people or hates a mixed race couple and blah blah blah, and the whole table just froze. All the other reporters there, and a woman goes, "Oh no, you talked about race," and Sam looks at me like this deadly stare, like you've seen him in the movies, how he looks like he's ready to kill somebody, and he freezes, he just stares at me, and I go, "I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson." And then he exploded laughing, and he said, "I just wanted to do that to get the reaction." Then he gave me the answer I wanted. But
and then
anyway.
it turns out all those reporters are now part of the Biden press corps where they ask puffy questions.
Exactly. Yes.
See, you were a trailblazer, Carl. You were actually wanting to learn stuff as opposed to Sam. Now, where do you get your berets?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I did ask him that. That's where how I started. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, so you
by the way, I once hung out with Carrot Top and asked him where he got his fright wig. Go ahead.
I got to hang out at Carrot Top backstage in Vegas also for an interview, and I was shocked. He's like such a mellow guy.
He's a great guy. And did you see? He shows the clip of me beating him on Star Search during his live performance.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah. How long ago was it? Did you interview him?
This is like 2017 or 18.
Yeah,
And
you probably didn't pay attention to it because there was somebody you knew besides Carrot Top and Show, and you were jealous, Carl. This is why you wear the beret, because you're an arrogant French man.
yes,
You're like
so
you're
um,
chef Boyardee without the spaghetti. Go ahead, over.
oh, I've got the spaghetti. If you see my belly, I've got the spaghetti, folks. So yeah, so anyway, so you were on the Tonight Show with Johnny, correct?
No, with Jay.
Oh, with
I got
Jay. Okay, I'm sorry,
I
because
actually got real close to being on with Johnny. In
oh,
fact,
that's right.
the
Yeah, I'm
last
sorry, I misread your notes. You actually delivered packages to Johnny Carson's house, though.
yeah, I do. I was a messenger in the early 80s, like 1980, 81, 82,
Okay.
83. And I would deliver to the Tonight Show bungalow, and then I would then take it to his house in Bel Air. And then years later, when I did Star Search, and Ed McMahon was a big fan of mine, we became friends. He called me up and said, Bob, I'm going to send a messenger over with a tape, pick up a tape of your stand-up. I want to get you on the show with Johnny. I said,
Wow.
great. So he did, and it never happened because it was the last 6 months of the Tonight Show and everybody in the world wanted to be on it. But it was at least, it's a nice memory. Ed McMahon was the funniest, greatest guy ever, by the way.
Huh.
Not because of
You're
that, because actually I should be angry with him. He didn't get me on the Tonight Show.
well, you are
But
correct, sir.
he was I did a roast. Tom Arnold hired me to do a roast of two people at the same time, Ed McMahon and James Cameron, the director.
What?
So, yeah. And then Ralphie Mays there, gives you an idea how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Ralphie was doing all these jokes he had just written that were bombing. And all out of the blue, Ed hands him a piece of paper and said, Ralphie, try these. And the place went nuts. I mean, Ed was just a funny man.
Wow, that's funny. So then, you were doing the Tonight Show with Jay. Then, what was that like? Any special memories from that?
Well, the Tonight Show with Jay was like, I was ready to do it. I was like, I wasn't nervous at all. But I believe Jay's studio was across from the Gong Show studio at NBC. So 15 years, what was it, 20 years later, I'm on the Tonight Show after the Gong Show in the very same building, which was like kind of a cool thing. And Jay, Jay was Jay. I had a really great panel with him. So it was fun.
Huh, that's cool. And have you been on there? What other late night shows have you done?
Well,
Any?
that for late night, that's the only one I did. I used to do Arsenio Hall all the time, but
Oh, okay.
not the current ones, no, but no one really does anymore.
No, I understand it. What was Arsenio like?
Arsenio, I did his very first late show at Fox. Right after they fired Joan Rivers, they hired Arsenio. They had guest hosts, and then they hired Arsenio to do 13 weeks straight. And I did his very first late night show there. And in fact, I made into the LA Times as one of the first guests with Arsenio, and they didn't know how big it was going to be. And
Yeah.
Arsenio told me a great story. Was I saw him later on. He said, Bob, Fox TV would call me up and say, yeah, we'll give you $5 million, and I'd have to hang up. Then they said $10 million. I said, I had to hang up. And then 15. And anyway, he went into syndication and ended up making $30 million a year. So I can see why he hung up.
Wow. Gotcha. So then I'm trying to see what else here you got. Well, you were saying that one of your weirdest gigs was you did a Christmas party for a tow truck company in a bowling alley.
Yes. Can I use some verbiage here?
Yes, you may.
So it was at a bowling alley. I don't know, maybe Downey. And it was for a tow truck company. And I went on around 10 o'clock at night, and they had been drinking since 1 p.m.
Oh my.
So everybody was drunk off their butt, and I'm up there and I'm getting nothing because no one's paying attention. And there's a lady in the front row and says, she's dressed like Betty Boop. And she hands me an envelope. I said, what's this? She said, oh, it's so-and-so's Christmas bonus. Can you announce it? So I did. And I said, thank you. Good night. And I walked off. It was only like 15 minutes out of 30. And then I went up to the booker, and he was a friend. And I said, you know what? You can keep your money. This is the worst fucking gig I've ever done in my whole life. This is a piece of shit. I mean, I can't even believe you put me through this. And then I went and sat down and cooled off. And then I went back and I said, you give me that fucking money. I earned every penny of that money, if not more. So the next day I call him up and we talk a little bit about what had happened. He said the person that hired me came up to complain that I didn't do enough time and then threw up on him. And then the boss's wife was dirty dancing with one of the tow truck drivers, and a fight broke out right after it. So,
well, that,
I have good instincts of when to get out.
Yeah, that's good. I once I signed up to be an online minister for an article I used to write at the Pasadena Weekly, and I did sometimes firsthand funny journalism, and so we wanted to see what it would be like to become an online minister. Where you print out a diploma, like a certificate, and to test it out, we posted a Craigslist ad offering to say a wedding fast and free to the first couple that responded. And I lucked out. It was the most eccentric, messed up bunch of people I've ever seen. But the funny thing was, it was a Russian woman who was about 22 marrying a 49-year-old American guy. So yeah, I'm sure it's really legit and it lasted a long time. And it was obvious green card wedding, and
I think it was part of class notes.
Oh yeah, but within about 30 minutes of the vows, I'm standing. This is on a beach at Malibu. I'm standing watching the waves, crash towards me. I'm wearing some gospel choir robes I borrowed from a friend, and the woman comes up to me and she just grabs me and kisses me on this within 30 minutes taking her vows. And I was like, I don't think we're supposed to do this. And it was just like the weirdest experience you could possibly ask for.
Well,
anyway.
it was cultural. It was a Russian thing. That's what they do. My wife was at Macy's and she overheard a sales manager talking to a sales clerk who didn't show up for work the day before. And she was Russian. And she says, why didn't you come to work yesterday? And she said, I was sick. She said, why didn't you call me? And the Russian woman said, well, I wasn't here. So that means I wasn't coming in, right? Why would I call you? So it's cultural, Pearl. It's cultural.
Lack of culture. Okay, so then you also, when you graduated from high school, they took away your diploma?
Yes, my real last name is Tetrault. It's T. So there's about 400 students that graduated, and I was towards the end of the pack, and I was just going to get my diploma and leave, but everybody started egging me on as I walked through all the students. Say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I said, I wasn't going to do anything. So they announced my name and they hand you the diploma, and I tripped, and the place went nuts, laughing their ass off. And then I go back, and you have to turn in your cap and gown to get the actual diploma. They just gave you the holder. Well, the principal held it. He said that I ruined the ceremony for everybody and was mad at me. And later on, I found out I had to apologize to him. And my brother Tony had a great thought. He said, you should go to the principal's office, apologize, get your diploma, and on the way out, trip. But it's funny, back then, this is 1979, Carl, and HBO was on. And I said, I'm going to make this an HBO special one day where I come back and get my diploma. Well, what happened was 20 years later on Comedy Central, I was nominated for Club Comic of the Year, and they would do like little vignettes about the comic's life. Well, mine was going back to West Covina High to get my diploma. And then the camera people started yawning and fell asleep like you just now.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry. You caught me. I tried to hide it. Anyway, but go ahead. I'm narcoleptic. I'm notorious. I can't help it.
Podcast I do in a long time. You guys doze off. Let me finish it up for everybody. I'm Carl Kozlowski at Gmail. Oh, one, by the way, just in case two shows up. Yeah. Anyway, so I went back and I got my diploma, and it was actually the principal. It wasn't the same principal, but it was my old coach. And he told me, he said, I looked up your records. You weren't a bad student. And I didn't even try. So anyway, it was nice.
Well, yeah, public schools, anyway. Um, so then, let's see, you were saying that it's been a struggle trying to get back on with the Tonight Show because of the changing of the guard. Are you talking about the changing, like Jay to Jimmy or Jay to Conan, or?
No, Jay, after I did the Tonight Show, I started auditioning for my second set, and they fired Jimmy Brogan, and then hired some kid who had nothing. He didn't even know about comedy. And for like a year, we were working on my set, and I like one joke away from being approved, and he got fired, and I gave up.
Wow.
Because I'm on the road a lot, and it's hard to be in town and then do that and do this, and and it shouldn't have been that hard. And Jay was only having like 8 comics on in a year, so you were always on the board with them. You know what I mean? But you never really got the show.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that here he is, a king of stand-up, and he didn't provide that many opportunities for other stand-ups. I would think he would do more.
Him and Letterman. Letterman was the same way, and both of them were a product of Johnny, who gave everybody an opportunity. But then again, I guess in their defense, when Johnny was on, there was 3 networks. When Jay and Dave was on, then cable started coming to fruition. So cable became the farm team for comics.
Okay, gotcha. So then, you said that you've used comedy to overcome me, myself, and I. Like, what do you mean there? I know that we talked once on a different podcast. Go find at radiotitans.com, folks. Bob was a guest on an episode of Oh Man, That's Awful, and we talked about both our struggles with being up and down in weight throughout our lives. Are you referring to that or something else when you're saying overcoming yourself?
I think this new French beret diet that you're on is really working, because you look great. And I bet a lot of Russian women want to make out with you.
Sacre bleu.
Sacre bleu. Je ne sais quoi. No, but anyway, there's a great scene in the movie Creed with Sylvester Stallone and Apollo Creed's son. And he says, he told him to look in the mirror. He says, "That's your worst enemy. Right there. That's the toughest guy you're ever going to fight." That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I gotcha.
We have to fight our own demons and our own insecurities.
Absolutely. So, let's see. Your favorite TV shows, you list I Love Lucy, All in the Family, and Roseanne. So any thoughts about any of those that you'd like to expound upon?
Roseanne, because I was on it. I played the doctor that delivered her baby, Jerry Garcia Connor, in the Halloween episode. So that was kind of cool. But I think I Love Lucy, if you watch it to this day, you still laugh. For whatever reason, they made that show evergreen. Once in a while, they would mention that Eisenhower was president or something like that. But pretty much you watch that show and it still lasts up, and All in the Family, just because it changed everything.
Yeah. So then your favorite funny book is I'm Dying Up Here, which is about the history of the Comedy Store. I actually have it. I have to read it. I just ordered it a couple months ago finally. But what do you like about that book, and do you recommend it to young stand-ups perhaps, as well as people that are history buffs?
I had more of a personal connection to it, only because I started going to the Comedy Store in '79, right out of high school, about 4 or 5 months after the strike. So most of the names in that book were the players that I started meeting and working with. So to me, it was like the Comedy Store too. I remember seeing it on the TV news about the strike. So to me, it was like I heard about all these things, and then all of a sudden I'm part of it, So I started working the store in '79, when I was like 17.
Okay. So then,
go ahead.
What are some of your favorite funny movies?
I don't know. What did I list there?
You actually avoided the question.
Now, there you go. I'm not big on watching movies that are funny. I like watching dramas that define the funny,
Huh. Okay. Well, what's a favorite drama? What might surprise people?
Old School. That's my favorite drama with Will Ferrell.
Okay.
It's a joke, Carl. Again, I'm joking now. You're getting too
Oh,
serious. I think the beret is too tight. There you go.
okay.
See, you're not a bad looking guy if someone's been drinking. There,
I
look
hope
at that. It gives you, and again, you got to work on bringing your second chin up a little bit. That's all. There you go.
Thank
And I
you,
love the
Bob.
backdrop. Is that Seattle?
Oh, that's Chicago.
That doesn't matter. They're all the same now.
Yeah, pretty much. They're
Murder,
all third
murder,
world
pooping.
hellholes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so then let's see what else. What would you say is your favorite career defining moment? Like what's something you're most proud of?
Well, I think that the Tonight Show was one of them because, back then that was that's your street cred as a comedian to do the Tonight Show. But the fact that I did it in the same studio as I did the Gong Show was like, wow. If you
Yeah,
if you work hard and stick with something, it can happen, is what I learned from that experience.
that's great. Actually, I did find that you did answer your two favorite movies, The Jerk and Old School. So what would you like to say about each of those?
Well, The Jerk is great because I'm picking out a thermos for you, not an ordinary thermos for
Oh,
you. But there's a lot of great subtle comedy in there. The best was when he's living out of the back of a trailer at the carnival, and the only food they have is pizza in a cup.
oh
He
yeah.
said, "Pizza in the cup, people." That didn't really take off, did it? It's just funny stuff that it's not like you fall down laughing, but you remember it funny.
Well,
And there's
I think there's two parts of that movie that make me laugh hysterically. Is one when he hears that the little dog is called Shithead angrily by the other guy, so he thinks that's the dog's positive name. Come here, Shithead, come here. And then the other one was the special purpose scene. Oh my God, when he screams, "I've got a special purpose!" Ah! And that I fell off the couch, literally.
it's a great movie. It's quintessential Steve.
Yeah, yeah. And then Old School, what did you like about that?
The best scene is when Will Ferrell is married and he goes back to a college friend and says, "What are you doing tomorrow?" He says, "Well, the wife and I are going to go to Bed Bath and Beyond, and I think we're going to pick out a curtain." It just shows how life changes from college to life. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Huh.
I think
Okay.
Will Ferrell's a funny man.
Oh, he is. All right. So I want to thank you for taking the time, Bob. It's been a pleasure as always. So
Thank you. I am on the Twitter at Bob Zany and Zany Bob on Instagram, but the Dry Bar special, check it out
yeah,
at drybarcomedy.com. It's entitled, I think I handled it well. Press that like button, which is important, I think. I don't know why. And then
yeah.
also Mercari.com. Now, I don't know if you ever heard of Mercari, Mercari. I'm
No.
selling all my stuff, Carl. You can buy things, my collectibles from when I was a kid. I got trading cards and comic books and from the 60s and 70s, all for sale, and showbiz memorabilia.
Wow. Okay. That sounds good. So until next time, folks, this has been Bob Zany, and I'm Carl
Carl.
Kozlowski.
This is Carl, and he's going to go back and help beat the Nazi during the resistance of World War II in that outfit. Bay.
Wee. All right. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Carl.
All right. So, Bob, this is for the documentary on Radio Titans. You once kindly agreed to be a guest judge on a pilot I shot of Pajama Party, my old comedy show / talk show that I would stage in the lobby of the Gaylord Apartments in Los Angeles. I would wear pajamas because the idea was I had the world's easiest commute to the gig because I lived directly above the lobby there. And anyways, you sat at a judge's table making wisecracks about the comics. And then at one point, I had seated you a little too close to the door of the bar next door. We had the HMS Bounty famous bar right next door to the Gaylord lobby. And somebody swung open the door mid-show and whacked the hell out of you. And it warms the cockles of my heart, Bob. It was just a funny moment.
Well,
But anyway,
I think it actually happened several times. So that was the beauty of that. And I also know that you said that the comics got mad at me because of my comments about their
oh,
set.
that's right.
So, and I always thought about that. Well, you really shouldn't be a comedian if you can't handle that.
Yeah.
And then Adam Gropman was a part of that, wasn't he? Was he the host?
Yes, he is. Yeah. He was my
Adam
co-host.
Adam was a good guy, and you know, you guys really had a great idea there that went absolutely nowhere, and I appreciate being part of that.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks.